Hello people and welcome to Choco Millionaire. So in yesterday's video, I did mention or hint that I suspect a lot of provinces will be putting in place tougher policies to crack down on some of the problems that has wrecked the international student program, which ultimately has affected immigration. One of the provinces that is rather proactive in making moves to actually streamline its student intake or the volume of international students against the slots available for permanent residence or immigration programs is the province of British Columbia. In the thumbnail or the photo you are seeing there is actually a protest which was organized some few days ago in this particular province. Actually 2 days ago, the protest occurred 2 days ago by a number of international students in this particular province. And the biggest concern is that the province of British Columbia has made changes to their current provincial nominee program, which is one of the programs that actually allows residents of this particular province, BC, to have clear path to getting their permanent residency. The story has also been reported by Global News. So permit me to actually go through it. I will be reading through it so that we see. So it says here that BC international students hold protests against permanent resident policy changes. All right. So this was released just some few days ago. Let me just read excerpts of that. A protest by international students downtown delivering a message to the provincial government on Saturday. They are upset at changes to the provincial nominee program, and which is an economic immigration program meant to help fill job vacancies and operate businesses. All right, so let's go into more details of that. A protest was held in downtown Vancouver by international students, advocates and supporters backing a petition. The petition, which is titled Promise Made, Promise Kept, Secure Future Path for BC PMP international students. So that is actually the petition right there you see in red. It says Promise Made, Promise Kept, Secure Future Path for BC PMP international students. Okay, so this petition is urging the BC government to halt its changes to the BC provincial nominee program. According to the petition, normally graduates from designated programs could directly apply for permanent residence status. With a recent update to the program, master's program graduates must now secure an official 1-year skilled job offer and meet certain language criteria for eligibility. Now, and there is a quote here, so I quote, "This sudden policy shift disrupts the path of both current and future international students, undermining their significant financial time and emotional investments in their quest for a stable future in British Columbia," the petition said. And it goes on to say, countless international students have made considerable sacrifices, both financially, emotionally, only to face such a sudden and a life-altering outcome. The petition has more than 2,050 signatures, with a goal of reaching 2,500 in total. According to the province, the changes made to the nominee program will create clearer pathways for international workers and will make it harder for predatory recruiters and other bad actors. The updates include a new three-stream structure for post-secondary graduates, increased language requirements, and continued prioritization for people who work in demand jobs. I was totally in shock. This is a quote. I was totally in shock. Zongwan Wang said, a master's student in BC. The old policy was the very reason I came here. I quit my job in New York City and moved all the way to Vancouver just 2 months ago because I saw the policy as a clear path. If I study here, I have an opportunity at permanent residency. Wang and many other students at the rally believe the changes made to the program were done too quickly. Now, because it has changed with all these new conditions and hurdles, I feel like it is unfair, Wang said. I don't feel like I was properly informed. Those at the rally were vocal that they want to see a grandfather clause for existing master's students. Global BC reached out to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Can, but she was not available for interview. And there is a quote here: I sympathize with those students who may be feeling some uncertainty about what the recently announced changes to the BC Provincial Nominee Program mean for them. I know they face unique challenges as newcomers to our province, and I understand how important these matters are for them as they make career plans and begin choosing a path towards permanent residency in British Columbia, she said in a statement. And I go on, she continues. The BCPNP is a very competitive program, but some have misrepresented it as an easy pathway to permanent residency. We are updating the BCPNP to give people the information they need to make informed decisions about which immigration pathway. All right, so the story continues and continues and continues. And let me read the very last but one paragraph here. I think this is very important. There are over 62,000 post-graduation work permit holders in BC, most of whom are seeking a path to permanent residency. For 2024, there are roughly 3,000 BCPNP nomination spots available. Let's start off from there. So currently, the number of international students who have graduated and are holding postgraduate work permit in British Columbia per the report here stands at 62,000. However, for this year 2024, the available slot for people to get their permanent residency through the BC Provincial Nominee Program is only 3,000. So if you did that 3,000 from 62, that leaves you with about 59,000 people there who may not have the opportunity through the same program to get their permanent residency. All right. So you remember in my video yesterday, I mentioned that I expect some provinces to make it a little bit more difficult for people to get permanent residency there, just because there is a whole lot of disconnection and disjoint. Basically, there is no compliance when it comes to the international student program in most provinces, especially the top 3 provinces. Ontario being the leader where I live, Ontario, then you go to BC, and maybe we can bring in Quebec, but Quebec may not be that bad, right? Especially these two, Ontario and BC. This is where I see many of the changes, because when you look at the volume of international students, the majority of them are in these 2 provinces. And this is where most of the problems are, all right? In fact, if you read another report, which was also carried out by, let me see if I can just look for that report and just pull it out. There is a report that I came across, and the report actually says, let me just read that portion here. That if you look at the total volume of international students in BC, right, about 54% of them are in private colleges or universities and what have you. All right. This is not to pick on any university, but the problem here is that these private colleges or private institutions are selling, according to the report, they are bad actors. They are not complying. They are selling all kinds of packages to people. Use this, do this, you get your this thing, do this, do this. So eventually people are coming in, rushing to this province, hoping that when they finish, they can get a PR. And then the province decides that we're going to shave and claw back and take away all this. Now, for those who want to really get context, what does it mean? Under the previous policy, the provincial nominee program in BC, okay? Provincial nominee is just one of the programs in most provinces that allows residents of that province and maybe residents from other places to actually apply for permanent residency to get their PR. For instance, I applied for permanent residency through the same provincial nominee program. I did it through Ontario because I did my master's degree in Ontario. So Ontario gave me the opportunity to become a permanent resident some time back. So this same program that I used to get my PR in Ontario is pretty much what these students in British Columbia are hoping to also use to get their PR. Now, for this year, the available slot is just 3,000. But then we have over 60,000 students who are currently on postgraduate work permit in this particular province. Now, what was unique about the old requirement of the PNP program in BC is that apart from undergraduate students, people who are doing bachelor's degrees and stuff like that, all right, apart from undergrads, people who did their undergraduate in BC, they were the only people who were required to have a full-time work employment history or a proof of a job before applying for the PNP. Let me take this back again. So in BC, PNP's program, international students had a path to getting their PR when they complete school. With the exception of those who did their undergrads in BC, who were required to have a job offer, most other students did not have that requirement. So basically, you could finish studying in BC and just apply for your permanent residency through the PNP. The requirements, they didn't require a job. There was no requirement to have a job for a certain duration and stuff like that. So technically, college students were benefiting from that. You know, university students were also benefiting, especially at the master's and PhD level. People were benefiting. Now, with the new changes that they've made to this policy, this is it. Unless you are a master's degree student or a PhD, you clearly do not have a path to actually applying for PNP through the BC program. If you're a master's degree, the new requirement, previously you didn't need a work experience in BC, right? But with the new requirement, you need to have a 1 year of full-time experience as a master's degree holder in BC. 1 year of full-time work experience as a master's degree holder in BC. This work experience should come after you've graduated from school. So you do your master's in BC. When you graduate, you now need to work for an additional 1 year before you apply for the PNP. But with the old policy, it wasn't like that. You could just finish school, boom, and then you apply. You understand? Now, you see why this particular gentleman, Wang, is complaining. Because he came from New York as an investment banker or so, right? To come from New York to BC, he's doing a master's. He's hoping that when he finishes, he'll just apply for the PR. Then boom, this change is coming. Now he has to now go and work for 1 whole year before getting his PR. So that is why the gentleman is actually angry and is complaining that that was not what he thought was going to happen when he left in New York to actually come to Canada. Now, if you are PhD students, when you graduate from your PhD in BC, you can actually apply for the PNP without having a work experience, all right? According to the details there, with the exception of PhD, master's degree, you need a 1 year work experience. Now, what about college students and stuff like that? The requirement is even more tougher if you are a college student and you graduate. Okay, so let me go back again and just read that portion so that we are on the same page. But literally, this makes it extremely difficult for college students. Previously, you are now going to actually be needing a 1 year work experience as well in order to apply. So think of it. If you do a 1 year of study in BC and you're hoping that you can finish and apply, now you need a 1 year work experience. With a 1 year postgraduate work permit, how are you able to get a 1 year work experience? Unless you miraculously maybe get an LMI and you jump onto an LMI. If you don't jump on an LMI, it's just impossible to get it. It's just impossible to get it. That's what it is. It's just impossible to get it. You understand? So that is why people are actually complaining that this policy is basically just saying that you're making it difficult for those who come to study certain programs and stuff. You understand? The good news is that if you are now a master's degree student and you graduate, you are getting a 3 years postgraduate work permit, which basically gives you a bit more time to work in Canada. So even if you do a 1 year master's, you still will get a 3 years postgraduate work permit, and you are able to use maybe 1 year out of the 3 years to actually acquire work experience. But it simply means it lengthens the time for people to get their PR. Now, overall, the people that I suspect are going to be hit the most are college students. College students are going to be hit the most in provinces like Ontario, in provinces like BC. I'm predicting that these two provinces are going to make it a lot more, because when you look at the volume of international students, majority are in the colleges. And the truth is that Most of these colleges are offering just all kinds of programs that are not competitive, programs that are not addressing the labor market needs of the country. That is why in this new revision that was made, they said they are going to focus on jobs that are in demand. Jobs that are in demand. What does it mean? Jobs that BC has need for and are considered critical. Jobs that Canada considers critical. So therefore, if the course you go to study in a college does not have a pathway to jobs that are in high demand here in Canada or say in the province of BC, bro, you potentially could be looking at making it difficult for yourself to get a PR. It is what it is, especially in provinces like Ontario. Recently, some of you in Ontario have also received your provincial nominations through on OIMP. And you were excited about it. Know some people who were excited, oh my God, I got a nominee. I got a nomination. But do you remember my video that I did some time back, probably about 2-3 months ago? And I hinted that one of the toughest thing about OIMP, Ontario Immigrant Nominees Requirement for the new stream that they created for international students, right? Especially college students, those who have a graduate certificate in Ontario, from a college here in Ontario. One of the toughest requirements there is that your employer has to actually endorse you. Your Ontario employer has to endorse you. They have to fill some paperwork, which is a couple of pages. Guys, if you live in Ontario, unless your job is so crucial to the employer, unless your employer really needs you, that losing you will cause a big problem, most employers will not sign it. I'm telling you. Most employers in Ontario, they will not sign it. Because at the time I was doing my own PMP through Ontario, we didn't need an employer's endorsement. We didn't need to. Of course, I did it through the master's stream, the master's graduate stream. We did not need to have an employer's endorsement. All I needed to show was that I have a job, a proof, what we call a letter of employment or work verification. Oh, this is to confirm that Choco Millionaire works here on a full-time basis and does 40 hours a week. This is a salary. Simple, that's all. But with the new requirement under the OIMP, especially if you are using the college route, the job seeker one for the new one that they created that I did the video on. If you look at the requirements carefully, there is a requirement that your employer, literally what it means is that it be like say your employer way, they nominate you, they help with your nomination. Or most employers will not do it, bro. I'm being honest with you. Ontario, most employers will not do it. You can get a nominee. You get a nominee all right, but eventually majority of you will not be able to submit it because the employers will bail on you. They will bail on you. Do you know why they will bail on you? Because labor is in abundance in Ontario, in many parts. In Southern Ontario especially, labor is in abundance. There are way too many people here in Southern Ontario. If it is the Northern Ontario part, maybe you have a better luck. But in Southern Ontario, your employer can replace you. You are irreplaceable. You are not dispensable. They can replace you in no time. When you leave, another PSW will come. When you leave, another person will come. So why then should they go ahead and fill a 10-page paperwork, which is very legalistic in all the way they, me, I read that paperwork, I read the requirements, I read it, and I just knew that most employers will not fill it. The moment they see paperwork like that, they will say, no, they cannot do sorry. And the sorry there could mean that your entire, but this is the employer you've been working with. Your entire thing is crashing. So if you are in Ontario, if you are in BC, you're seeing the changes there. You see some of the changes that are coming. You have to be proactive. But wait a minute. Choco, what do you mean by proactive? Remember, I'm not an immigration consultant or any expert. I just share my common thought, my ordinary man's thought. My thought here is that you need to begin pivoting to courses that will make you competitive. Trades. You know what trades courses are? The carpentries, the technician position or courses, the electrical engineering, the technical, all those courses that people don't really like. They are the ones that are actually in high demand here. The health-related courses. These are the courses that people should be going for. Not these general programs that when you finish, you really don't know what. Look, ask yourself this question. As you're watching this video, the course I am doing right now, when I finish, what is my pathway? What jobs will I get? Number 2, what is the knock code or what tier does this job for? What is the knock code for it? Is it knock 0? Is it knock 1? Is it knock A? Is it knock B? What is the knock code for it? Do you know what a knock code will be for the job you're going to get with the course you're studying? Number 2, what tier does it for? Tier. The new tier system that was introduced to replace the old NOC, what tier does my job fall? What education is required for that job? What responsibilities does it come with? What are the experience required for it? You know, tier. What tier is it? Is it a tier 0? Is it a tier 1? Is it a tier 2? Is it a tier 3? What tier is it? Is it in high demand in this province? If not, if you proceed to finish your studies, you probably may have to do a lot of, jumping around just to get your papers. It's just getting tougher in provinces that are choked. And I think it is about time Ontario and BC start. And BC has started. In fact, BC, this is not the first move they've made, though. They've already said they're going to crack down on many of them. Many of the schools in BC are going to get a big. They're going to be hit big. Because once these things begin to happen like this, many students will not start going to these universities these colleges and universities there. Why? Because they are looking at what the government is doing, and they know that their life is going to be in, unless they go for courses that are in high demand. And eventually that will have an effect, and then it will probably bring the numbers down. It is what it is. If you are in BC and you are affected by this policy, sorry, but you can probably also be proactive by moving to other provinces where it is probably a little bit more easier to get your papers. If you are just about starting your program and you've sat down to reflect and you know that your program has very little prospects for you when it comes to finishing, you probably can start, especially if you're already in Canada, you can start changing or making moves to change. Especially if you're in school, you can change your program. Check with your school to see if they have programs that you like, that have better opportunities for you in terms of career, in-demand jobs in Canada or in your province. If not, probably look for options to change. It's your life. Change the school if necessary. It's not illegal to change school. You can use the proper processes according to the RCC to change your school. Help is there to help you. I did a video some few days back telling you guys that if you want to change your school, blah, 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 you can reach out to help. Watch that video, use the link in there, and then just start making decisions. Things are going to be tough. Immigration will get tougher and tougher in the next few months. It will. In fact, it will even get tougher when the opposition party comes into power in Canada. So therefore, if you're in Canada, start being proactive. What you're seeing in BC will happen in other provinces like Ontario. Don't be deceived. Ontario is choked. BC is choked. Cost of living in these two provinces is one of the highest in the whole world. BC and Ontario. It doesn't make any sense. So why keep people coming there? Why should the provinces incentivize people to keep coming? If you are a provincial leader, you do the same thing. Because cost of living is going nuts. And if you go to places like BC, homelessness is on the rise. There are many people that who can find an average one bedroom is close to $2,000 in some places. That's ridiculous. So students coming in, no real opportunities. The courses they are offering are just too general. They are not really solving problems there. Most of the courses, yourself, I don't want to start mentioning some courses and for you to start feeling bad. But some courses, when you watch them, you can tell that this course has no meat. They just put them together just to charge international students money. So when you come here, you have to look sharp. You have to look sharp and start making moves, man. Else, you'll finish, and then especially those in colleges especially. At least a master's degree holder, when he finishes, he gets 3 years postgraduate work permit, which gives him more time to pivot. Pivot means to move around, to figure out what to do next. Do I need more training, more skill? Do I need to acquire a new skill to get a better job, which is not like a low-skill job? But if you don't have that amount of time on your postgraduate work permit and you graduate, bro, you're going to be in trouble. When I say trouble, I'm not scaring you, but I mean the immigration part could be. All right, Mr. Juan, whose complaint has been highlighted in this particular story. Let me see if I can pick Mr. Juan's story again. His background, he came from New York, isn't it? Mr. Juan came from New York. So Zong Wan Wang said he's a master's student in BC. Zong Wan Wang, so if I'm not mistaken, you will be eligible for a 3-year PGWP, isn't it? That gives you a bit more time. And you also mentioned that you were an investment, I'm trying to find a specific job, investment. So, Mr. Wan, could it be possible that you could apply for express entry? Express entry, if the type of skill set that you have from New York falls under a better knock code, maybe you should activate yourself in the express entry pool as well, so that you don't put all your eggs on just provincial nomination. It's also about time that many of you also start spreading yourself. Why, instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, like, I really want to get it through PMP. What if the PMP doesn't work for you in Ontario? What if the PMP doesn't work for you in BC? Why not activate yourself for express entry? Why not even maybe activate yourself in such a way that you are being seen by all the other provinces? You know, in express entry, you can actually check the box for all provinces to make it easy for, say, a province like Manitoba to kind of pick you if your skill set is in demand there, or Nova Scotia or New Brunswick or other province or PEI to pick you. So just don't narrow your options to just one. Because if you only got one option, you got no options. So activate yourself. Activate yourself. Go for some of the rural programs that are available. If possible, move. If you have to get a job in a rural area where there is only 2, 3 people, 5 people, but you're getting your papers, if possible, just move. You know what I mean? All right, my name is Choco Millionaire. I hope you did enjoy this video. I'm going to be linking the 2 articles that I read in the description box when this video ends. Please take your time and read them and take lesson. Now, do not be overly anxious as well. We are in times of changing immigration policies on daily basis. Soak the information, sit back, reboot yourself, figure out what you do, and just spread yourself. This will be the year of being proactive. You need to be more proactive if you are going to get a short postgraduate work permit, such as 1 year. If you have 3 years, you have a bit more time. But whatever the situation is, in-demand jobs will always be the winners. Courses that are too general, courses that have very low prospects for could be the courses that will be, anyway, you know what it is. When it comes to it, they will separate the wheat from the chaff. And when they are separating, you'll be able to tell what are yours. My name is Choco Millionaire. Do have a good one and take care. Bye-bye.